So it's all I know in that sense. It's like I'm curious and I know mostly about the arts, as well as curious and learning and knowing about the business of the arts. The work is the currency. The discipline is the sustainability of the currency. And then you've built a thing, and this thing is irreplaceable. And then you've got this brand. I just think the male gender, the African male particularly, is underappreciated. I would like to start just focusing on it and focusing on them a little bit more to express and to speak growth and empowerment and love to the African male, which is not getting a lot of love if you look at current affairs, even in the entire world.
Hello, Africa. You're listening to 1000 African Voices. I'm your host, Aburengwi C, coming to you from our Johannesburg studios. 1000 African Voices is a program that profiles Africans of diverse cultures who have traveled and lived across the African continent and the world. In this series, we will collect and share stories from all parts of Africa. Welcome.
1000 African Voices.
Hello, Africa, and welcome to yet another episode of 1000 African Voices. Today we're joined by Zikhona Sodlaka, who will shortly introduce herself to our listeners. Hello, Zikhona.
Am I introducing myself? Oh my goodness, that's so much pressure.
Not just who's Zikhona. What do you do? Really just a basic introduction. Then we will do a deep dive into the person that you are.
So, hello everybody at 1000 African Voices. I am Zikhona Sodlaka. I am South African and I am a performing artist. I'm an actress, mostly known for my acting than other performances. I have been a performing artist since I became an adult. I think I've made peace with the fact that it's all I know. I was probably 20 years old when I started, which was, just 5 years ago, 14 years ago. And yeah, I've done small screen, big screen, as well as stage.
All right. There's something you said in the intro which I found interesting. You said it's all you know, or something along those lines. I'm curious to maybe understand what you mean by that, but I'm pretty sure it's not as literal as it could be interpreted. So when you say acting or being a performing artist is all you know, what do you mean by that?
Oh no, it's all I've ever done. I've never had another job really. I've only ever been an artist. Well, except for an odd bartending job when I was turned legal at 18. But that doesn't count because that lasted 1 month or two. So it's all I know in that sense. It's I'm curious and I know mostly about the arts, as well as curious and learning and knowing about the business of the arts.
Okay. Just before we started recording, I said something about your voice. I can actually feel my body calming down as you talking, which is an interesting phenomenon. But I mentioned that just as a side comment. Zikhona, I'm interested, and I'm sure
You're kidding me.
Why acting? Why? What is it about the performing arts that appealed to you? And at what point in your life did you decide that you were going to pursue that as a career?
Truly, especially as Africans, I think I can say this out loud, even though the West says the same, but I think I want to claim it as an African thing. I really don't know anyone who was born before 1994 in South Africa. I don't know a large percentage of people who are like, I'm just going to be an artist. I've got a plan. I'm going to be an actress for the rest of my life. I don't know anybody that planned it like that. It kind of sort of just falls on your lap. That's what the arts do to us. They find you. I think by the time you notice that you are attracted to it, you've been doing it it's been in you for all your life. You just didn't know. You didn't need it at the time. Or you've been expressing yourself in a particular way, but you didn't think that it is a thing. We tend to think that everybody is like us as artists, that everybody expresses themselves the way that we express ourselves, that everybody feels just like we feel, and we feel very deeply. And yeah, I can't say to you when I decided, well, I'm gonna do it permanently. When I started it, I never stopped it. When I first got into something that was a professional stage, I just never quit. I was just like, okay, let me just make sure I work on this. And then every job and every script kept on being about, let me show I get this. Let me show I learn about this. Let me show I can know how to do this. And then the next thing I wake up, it's been a decade and it feels like a week.
I mean, you're really taking us deep into the psyche of a performing artist. It's quite interesting that there are people that will answer that question differently and say, I've always wanted to be this. But your response says, I ended up in this and I learned to like it. In a way, the more you did it, the more it felt natural. At least that's how I'm interpreting what you are saying. Just like any other vocation that one chooses, Zikhona, I would imagine that even in your space, there are challenges that you deal with, or at least challenges that you've dealt with in your previous life. Can you maybe just take us through some of those challenges and how you then rose above them?
Oh, no, let's fix your tense there. I still go through challenges, though it's not a thing of the past at all. I still go through literal challenges as an actress. The first time I started experiencing, but like when you say challenges, I feel like it's vague, because which challenges could we be talking about? Life challenges, which is human being challenges, or art challenges? I mean, actress challenges. But maybe because we're speaking about my actress life, I'll take that one. When I started, like I said, I'm 20, so I'm wet behind the ears. I want to believe with people who've been doing this for a little bit of time, who went to school for it and I didn't. So they have at least 3 years advantage above me. They have performed on the stage. They have rehearsed over and over and over again. And I just started. And it's just a matter of catching up to them. In the beginning, I've never been a person who fights for external approval. It's very interesting, that observation of myself, but I've always just been on some, okay, it seems like I can't really do what the other people are doing really, really well. So let me learn how to do what these people do, and let me do it really, really well as well. And so I got thrown into the deep end, and I was working with some of the most celebrated South African artists, and it was just sink or swim. So already I started in a big challenge. And then since then, it's gotten better and sometimes worse. It's always about how do you sharpen your skill? How do you broaden your horizon? And how do you learn how to capitalize on what you have? How do you make a business out of it? How do you learn other expressions? And how do you become a more global or intercontinental expressionist?
You've touched on the issue of how do you make a business out of being a performing artist, which is always an interesting question for me. My personal experience has been very far from the arts. So it's your typical 8 to 4, where you at the very least have this sense of permanence. And by that, I mean you work for 40 years. Thereafter, you retire. In your world, I would imagine.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Woo.
So, Zikhona, in your world, how does that work? I mean, how do you convert Zikhona Sodlaka into a sustainable brand or business?
I was listening to this lady that had a television show and now she has books and stuff. Her name is Oprah Winfrey. She said something along this. She just did a Vogue magazine cover, and she I think Vogue had a one-on-one session with herself and RuPaul, who started a reality show about drag racing and the art of drag racing. And she said, to paraphrase, when I started in this business, all you had to do was to make sure that you do your work really, really well. And in doing your work really, really well, it created a brand all by itself. And she believes that that's a better way to do things, to do the work and to do the craft and to do the work. The work is the currency. The discipline is the sustainability of the currency. And then you've built a thing, and this thing is irreplaceable. And then you've got this brand. And all you can do in order to grow it is to continue doing this thing that you created, that has got your flavor, your scent, your style, your expression that is yours. And that's how I think I've done it with my career and continue to do it. I've just focused primarily on the work and on myself. And then now that there's a thing that's been built, it's now a matter of plugging it into other external things that I am now interested in consciously. Like, now I know the things that are important to me. Now I know the avenues that are of great importance. I know the things that I like. So then I work with or for or alongside the things that I care for, which is like my foundation, some of the projects we work on. I'm passionate about the African male and the boy child. So because I've built for myself a business around my name and a name that can attract attention, I can now venture into anything that I'm passionate about and get people on board because they know that the name, won't fizzle out. It's not just a name. It's built on nothing because nothing is worth something these days. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's how I do this whole consciously making money around your name thing.
Zikhona, as I said, it's always really interesting when you have, when we think now of this fourth industrial revolution, people talk about the gig economy where you move from one job to the next. But in a way, you've been doing that for at least 14 years. So you are ahead of the game in that sense. So it is quite interesting for me to listen to someone like yourself going through what it then takes to formulate a sustainable business around one's name. So that is really interesting. You spoke about the Zikhona Sodlaka Foundation, that you're interested in males or boys, I think you said. Why that course specifically? I'm assuming there are other courses within the foundation that you support, but why specifically that? What is the significance of focusing on males?
Because I like it. Because I think when there's a healthy relationship between a father and a son, dynamic things can happen. I think that the boy child has been overlooked for a little bit of time, maybe for a long time. And I think that because all genders are equal, if we're empowering the girl child, maybe we shouldn't leave out the boy child. I'm afraid that if he's left out for too long, then again we do what time has done to us, which is that the boy child was always more empowered and then the girl child wasn't. And then now we're taking the girl child ahead and leaving the boy child. And again, in another 20 years, we're going to need to empower the boy child again. And the girl child is going to be left behind. So it's like a wheel of horror if it's left unchanged and unnoticed. So, but outside of that, I just think the male gender, the African male particularly, is underappreciated. And I would like to start, and I have begun to start just focusing on it and focusing on them a little bit more, to express and to speak growth and empowerment and love to the African male, which is not getting a lot of love. If you look at current affairs, even in the entire world, the black male is just being almost destroyed, in my opinion. So that's why, I've been curious about it, and I've played there for a while.
It takes a lot of foresight to identify that as the world is now empowering women, and I'm thinking now as I'm speaking, there were a few states in the US of A specifically where the empowering of women led to an overcorrection, which then later needed policies to bring things back to normality. So what you're saying and what you've identified as a current and future problem, it's quite encouraging that there are people who are thinking of, or at least making sure that we do not overcorrect, because later you'll then have to redo the same thing. Then it becomes this never ending cycle. So yeah, big ups for having the foresight to at least identify that as an issue and have the wherewithal to do something about it. It's really encouraging to hear someone saying exactly that. So I do wish you well with the foundation, because someone does need to do that. As I'm talking to you, there's a picture that I'm looking at, and those who know you, if they had to draw a picture of your face, most of them will have the same look. There's this quintessential Zikhona Sodlaka look that you have, I suppose, cultivated over time, and that has become your identity. I'm referring to your hairstyle. Is there a reason why you've chosen that? Is there any significance at all, or is it just what it is?
You're very interesting.
What?
I had always just had flimsy hair in the beginning. Like, hair and I just were not friends. So God gives you hair or he doesn't. I've just realized that's what it's like. Because all my friends have got big, healthy afros. And I've always been the friend with the hair that takes like 9 years to get to an afro. And, a couple of years ago, I can't remember, it was right after my grandmother's funeral. But it wasn't really because I lost her that I shaved my hair off. But it was just around that time. And that was about 15 years ago when I first chopped it off. I just never grew it back from there. I'd been hearing over and over again from people, from my agents, they're like, why don't you try short hair? I'm like, is my hair that bad? I mean, guys, it took me 9 years to grow this afro. I'm not cutting my hair. And then out of the blue, I can't remember. I cannot tell you what made me do it, because there you are, you're a 19-year-old, you're cutting off your hair, chopping it off. But when I grew as a child, my mom always maintained a short hairstyle on me. So I always had a short hair. I was the short hair girl. And then I just grew, and then I chose it for myself as a preferred hairstyle. And it just worked. And it just worked. So it was like, oh, okay. And it was cheap. And everything that's cheap was nice at the beginning of my career. I'm just like, yes, minus 1,000 rands, please. Don't have to do my hair every week now. Just cut it for 20 rands. And then it became my signature look. But it's never been deep. It was never a big reason, or it was never a conscious reason to look a particular way. I was comfortable with myself in that identity. I kept it, and I realized that it actually makes my life so much easier as an actress, because I can play anyone. Because coming from no hair, whomever I play, I can put on to look like that person, because women are very much image people. So if I'm playing a woman with dreadlocks, they can put it on me. If I play someone with short blonde hair, we can grow it. You know what I mean? It became such a beautiful, clean canvas for me as an actress, and my life has been easier, and I just enjoyed the bliss of that. And obviously now it's very intentional.
Yeah, I want to pursue that and just forgive my, I suppose, persistence. So on 1000 African Voices, having spoken on this show to over 70 guests, the topic of hair comes up quite often. And for an African child, it remains an interesting topic. And that's why I decided to ask you the same, because how you interpret that and articulate that, I always picture a child in Malawi, Botswana, anywhere listening to your interpretation of what it means and taking something from that. So when you say now it's very intentional, you're 34 in 2019, I believe. What does the intentionality mean?
I'm 29. I've been 29 4 times or 5. I am not 34.
I take it back. 29.
I don't know what number you're talking. Thanks. Thank you so much. I'm comfortable with that number. Okay, now that I'm 29. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying, when you say it's now intentional, what do you mean by that?
I mean, I like it. I mean, I wouldn't change it for any. I would change it for an afro. If I could get big, thick, uncombable, strong, black girl hair that grew big, I would keep it. But it doesn't. So then I will not take anything in between. I will keep it like the way that it is. I will keep it short. I will keep it very little no chemicals, actually. It's soft enough. I don't need to do anything in it. I just need a brush and I walk out of the door. That's what I mean. I like it. Okay. It's given me a lot of interesting comments from people, some who have liked it and some who have hated it. It has made life easy for me. It has made dating life difficult for me, because in South Africa, especially in the past, when women, because at least now Black women are starting to enjoy their hair natural, or at least as more natural than not. The hairstyles have become less straightened, less Western, less Victorian, basically, and very African, very Black, very original. Women are now accentuating that, especially in South Africa, in the world, actually. I've seen people are braiding more. People are leaving their curly hair curled, or they are extending when they are curly hair. People are wearing Afro extensions. People are wearing dreadlock extensions, which is the original Black girl hairstyle. But it wasn't always like that. We know that. And, keeping my hair short and natural was not always comfortable for the people who get to see me. They were uncomfortable about it. They thought it was a bit hard, and they thought it was challenging. And they found it, a few found it that. And I was just like, well, if you're uncomfortable, it's none of my business. You're the one uncomfortable. I'm out here as feminine as possible. I think that because my hairstyle is not a certain length or color, that it's not feminine. Come on.
I must tell you, and I'm sure you get this a lot, you're an interesting person. So earlier I said, as you were talking, I could feel myself calming down. Then there's an element of seriousness in how you come across and the messages that you share. But that seriousness is at the same time layered with so much playfulness, if that makes any sense. Making it really difficult for me to, yeah?
It's not my fault to box people. Just talk to the human until you're done. Don't be like, it's a shy one, so I'm going to take it. It's a loud one. Let's out. You're going to struggle.
I am struggling because I naturally want to box you into something and say, Zikhona, she's like this, there's her box. Now I'm finding it such an elusive process, and I'm sure you get this a lot. The fact that you had so much to say about your hair and what you've had to go through with the hairstyle that you've chosen means that you've had to deal with people finding it difficult to box you into a certain category. which is great. So I just wanted to share that there's really so much seriousness, which then prompts me to ask what you do when you're not working. What are some of the things that you do to remind yourself of the playful Zikhona? Sort of, what are some of your hobbies?
You should meet my best friend. She'll tell you I'm the silliest person in the world. All of them do. They're trying to make me a little bit serious. And apparently I'm untrainable. But then you get this question, and then that's why I just giggle to myself and I go, oh, well, this thing about boxes and perceptions.
Yeah.
But I want to think that I am probably one of the most laid back people I know. And of course, laid back isn't the same. Some people lay back and watch the Kardashians. I lay back and dance salsa and learn kizomba and tell myself I'm learning French, even though I'm not. I kind of lie to myself when it comes to French. I have a love relationship with it, but it intimidates me. So I can't bring myself to actually learning it because I think I'm going to fail. And then I just lay back. I kick back and I go for a walk. I genuinely think taking long walks is the biggest secret to losing weight in the world. So I take long walks and I play tennis, and that's about it. I mean, how much more can a person do? And and I'm obsessed with Netflix and chilling. Yes, I may be watching reality TV on Netflix, but at least it's not the Kardashians. Because I feel like they are like if you start with that, you're never gonna get out of that well. Like it's just like sucks people in hard.
Yeah, Zikhona, now I wanted to sort of ask a bit more on the long walks. What happens when you are walking? Like, what are you doing in that moment? If you don't mind just sharing, is it walking with friends? Is it walking a dog? What happens when you say, now I'm going for a long walk? Yes, your body is moving, but I'm sure your mind is doing something else as well.
It's the greatest time to actually get to your mind to listen to you, because your mind is never listening to you during the day. It's so busy worrying about hair and lip gloss and nonsense. But it's my morning jog. So I go for a morning jog, but I just don't jog that much. So I walk because I've got dancer knees. So I can't really run because dancing ruined my knees 4 years ago. So I'll jog a little and I'll walk a little. And I've got my big studio Sweden Bluetooth earphones. I'm listening to hip hop a lot of the time because, it just propels you to keep running. And I'm with a friend. I'm always trying to bully a friend to go on walks with me. They can't keep up because I live on the mountain, so I like hiking up the mountain. So I jog down and then I walk up the mountain, and they just like, nobody can do that. You're stupid. So then I end up going on my morning jogs alone most of the time. I don't have a dog. I don't have a puppy. I'm terrified of dogs. That's why I can only jog in the early mornings, because then people aren't driving out to work and then the dogs exit the house following the car. It's my biggest fear in the world. Like running, and then the next thing the dog is like out of the gate. Oh my gosh. I always feel like it's just going to taste me and eat me and finish me. And yeah, that's it.
Okay. No, thank you for just indulging my question. It's always interesting. You see people running on the streets, they'll mostly have earphones or headphones on, and I always wonder as I go past the runners or the walkers what each and every one of them is listening to, whether it's hip hop, jazz, is it a podcast, audiobook. It's always a fascinating, unanswerable question for me. And that's why
it's the best time to have time to yourself. It's the best time to listen to an audiobook, to listen to that music you never got to listen to listen to that. It just, whatever your mood is, to listen to those inspirational videos that are all over YouTube, and you've been wanting to listen to them because nobody's going to bother you, and put your phone in airplane mode, put in your music, you put in that especially those audiobooks, because the era we live in is amazing now. You can listen to your favorite book as you run or as you walk. You should try it. Do you run? Do you walk?
I do run, although I'm slowing down each year. So I always try every second day to do 5 kilometers. And what I'll listen to, it's one of two things. It's either a podcast, maybe a 1000 African Voices recording just to test, or an audiobook. So recently finished Sir Alex Ferguson, which is read in a Scottish accent, which took me a good hour to get used to that. So yes, I do run every second day and indulge in audiobooks, because I agree with you. We live in an amazing era where you no longer have to sit down and 10 pages. But I'm going to redirect the same question to you on either audiobooks or actual books. How do you, or what do you feed your brain with? What kind of material do you like to read or listen to?
I am going through a Rich Dad, Poor Dad era. I'm reading that book all over again, Mr. Kiyosaki. I am listening to his content a lot because that's where I am in my life. I'm structuring a few things in my businesses, my production house, even just changing the way my mind is set about finance and, how to tax, how to get your properties, how to do this. So I'm feeding my mind about financial education, really, and smart financial moves, smart investment moves, smart anything that has to do with money, so that I can change my ways. So that's what I'm listening to a lot right now. I mean, all over the house. I've got Bluetooth speakers so that anytime people aren't here, because I live by myself, I will plug in my YouTube and I will listen to that stuff. We come from the Susie Orman era, so
Yeah.
Susie Orman may have said something. It feels like he may be saying something else. So yeah, I even found it even led me to Donald Trump the other day, because they are such good friends. And there was a Donald Trump link that was talking about something very similar. And for the first time, I had to make a conscious decision to listen to Donald Trump talk about how to make financial decisions and investments and just a financial lifestyle that is better than most people. And you can imagine what that conversation was. You have to adult yourself up and decide to divorce yourself from your moral opinion of the man and remember who he is in society, and maybe take his influence. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. I totally agree. And it takes a lot of maturity to separate the Donald Trump that we've come to know from the Donald Trump that partnered with the likes of Robert Kiyosaki and other financial leaders, someone who built a solid business, the Trump organization. It has become really difficult to reconcile that person to the president. I actually at some point thought he will ruin Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but I suppose the book is so good that nothing the current president can do or does now can undo that book, because it's really well written, and the wisdom contained in that book will always stand the test of time. Zikhona, I'm having to go against my instincts of wanting to talk to you for a long, long time, so I have to be respectful of your time. Maybe before you go, what are your current projects? Where can our listeners get more of Zikhona Sodlaka?
Tomorrow, a show of mine premieres on Showmax and One Magic on DSTV at 7:30 p.m., I think Central African time. My episode 1 of a new series called Grassroots premieres. And that's one of the things that is playing now. The rest of the stuff is coming out later in the year. I've got a Showmax production that I'm going to be starting soon. And that will, not a Showmax, but a Netflix production that I'll be starting soon.
Nice.
And it will be up on Netflix.
Okay. No, beautiful. Then you can Netflix and chill watching your own programming in a way. Eh?
Not watching my own work. Thank you.
You're not watching.
I don't know a lot of people who do.
No. Yeah, that was one of my questions. I once saw an interview of Samuel L. Jackson, and the host of that show, I forgot the name, asked him what he does in his spare time, and the answer he gave was that he watches his old movies all the time, and that stuck with me. It was an odd thing to say. So I wondered whether the Zikhonas of this world spend their time playing back whatever shows you find yourself in.
No, I'm not like Samuel L. Jackson. The opposite. I couldn't.
You just share the same hairstyle.
That's so...
Zikhona, and on social media, where can people find you? How do I follow Zikhona?
All the platforms, I am at Zikhona Sodlaka, which is Zikhona Sodlaka. Just at Zikhona Sodlaka.
Okay. Cool. Zikhona, from myself, Avurengwi, you've given me so much food for thought. It's gonna take a while to digest all that you've shared, but yeah, from myself and on behalf of the listeners of 1000 African Voices, we really do appreciate the time that you've given us. I know you are a busy person, at least you do sound like a busy person. So I do not underestimate the 40 or so minutes that we have spent getting to know Zikhona Sodlaka a bit more. So thank you for that.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for being interested in what I have to say. Thank you.
1000 African Voices.
You've been listening to 1000 African Voices. Please join us next time as we bring you yet another African voice. 1000 African Voices is produced by Avurengwi C. Sam Ganich is our sound engineer, with our head researcher Jones Maleka. The intro soundtrack for the show is by the legendary Salif Gator from his 1995 album Forlorn. The song you're listening to right now is by Chronix, and the title of the song is Legend. For more information, including the contact details of our guests, please visit us on our website www.1000africanvoices.com. You can also subscribe to our show on iTunes by searching for 1000 African Voices. We are also available on Stitcher. You can find us as well on Podbean. The only thing we ask of you is that you subscribe to our show by logging on to 1000africanvoices.com and click the subscribe button. That helps us grow. It helps us keep producing and bringing to you more African voices. Until next time, Kungana Africa, and take care.
Being an ordinary person doing what's right. Yesterday at the football game, a little girl asked me my name. She said, "Sir, I've seen you before, tell me who are you?" I said, "I am a legend that you never heard of before." I said, "I am a lion, but you never heard me roar. I am a hero that nobody celebrates. But if one person remembers my name, that means on the ocean of fame I'm an unknown sailor. I'm the percussionist playing with the whalers, the one with the shaker, the mover and shaker. My name wasn't on the front of the paper, but me not cater. Much more than the worker, the work is greater. Creation glorifies creator. So all deeds done are in the name of my maker. I am a legend that you probably never hear about. Words from the lion's mouth. I am a hero that nobody celebrates. But if one person remembers my name, give praise, that means I made a change. Story of my life, ordinary person just like you. If you take a look inside, you see the great things that people do. We're out there changing lives day and night, day in, day out. BBC don't show it, CNN don't show it,